Is eating 30 bananas a day unhealthy? Well, first we have to understand the basic question of, is a banana unhealthy? And to simply answer that question is, no, a banana is not unhealthy. A banana comes from the earth, grows on a tree, is a whole fruit, a whole food, and a peel, and a package. And it comes with fiber, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, phytonutrients, fat, protein, and carbohydrates. So, a banana, is not an unhealthy food. It is a healthy food. It doesn't matter what kind of changes that banana has gone through since the beginning. The fact of the matter is it's still a whole, recognizable food that you pick off from a tree. Okay? The next thing we have to understand then is it unhealthy to consume a ridiculously high amount of a particular food? And I would have to say that if you sat down, alright, and you try to eat 30 bananas at one time, it's gonna make your stomach stretch, okay? There's no getting around that. I've tried it myself, eating 5 or 10 bananas at a time, and my stomach stretches, okay? It gets uncomfortable, put it that way. So, a lot of people try to bypass that by blending them all in a blender. And in my opinion, even though blending your fruit in a blender is much more healthful than juicing it because you're retaining the fiber, nevertheless, you would never consume that many bananas at one time by just peeling and eating them as is. So blending in and of itself can be unnatural if you are pretty much eating a large majority of fruit in one sitting. Now if you blended, say, 2 or even 3 bananas in your blender, that's alright, because a normal person could eat 2 or 3 bananas in a sitting, and it wouldn't really feel like their stomach was stretching or they weren't getting bloating or anything like that. But consuming large amounts of fruit at one time by blending it, or even trying to stuff it down your mouth in one sitting, that is very unreasonable and unrealistic. Our stomachs are much smaller than that of, gorilla or, these other animals that can consume large amounts of vegetation. It's not to say that we aren't meant to eat that vegetation, it's just that eating more vegetation than what we need at that particular moment in time is not very wise. Also, a banana has a glycemic index of around 54, which puts it on the low end. So it's not really going to affect your blood sugar. If you eat one banana, it's going to have a very minimal impact on your blood sugar. But of course, if you consume 30 bananas blended, then of course it's going to spike your blood sugar dramatically up, quick. Even if it has the fiber, because it's just a larger volume of sugar. See? Now, I would say it's not... I will say this, you don't have to consume 30 bananas or a large amount of fruit in order to be super incredibly healthy. I believe that we should be more frugal with how we eat. Most of us have never censored true hunger. And most people, believe it or not, eat a lot more than what they actually need every day, too. They've done studies on monkeys on calorie restriction where they just restrict their calories just enough, but they're still thriving. And by doing that, the monkeys are able to stay younger for longer and also live longer. And also prevent a lot of other diseases where the monkeys that were eating as much as they wanted got a lot more disease. And of course, there's a lot of biblical truth to that because Jesus fasted for 40 days. There's fasting references in the Bible throughout the whole scriptures. And there's real benefits to fasting, not eating for a day or 2 or 3. It gives your body a rest. But if you're going to bombard yourself with any kind of food, whether it be fruit or whether it be chicken and red meat and raw milk, in my opinion, that is not healthy. That's not beneficial. That's not wise. Just because we have access to fruit, vegetables, and meat all year round doesn't give us the green light to just stuff it down our mouth as much as we want every single day. Because if people do that, it's going to lead to all kinds of health problems, and of course we can see that today. People need to take a step back and think, eat a banana or two, enjoy it, but don't go overboard with it. Because if you go overboard with it, you're just stressing more of your body. That's all. And it's not going to be beneficial for you to consume that much fruit in one sitting. It doesn't mean that you're starving yourself, because clearly you will go throughout the day consuming other foods. So, would I recommend people consume 30 bananas? No, I wouldn't. Would I recommend people eat Gatorade shakes? Absolutely not. Have a date or two, for a snack. But if you're going to take a bunch of dates and blend them with bananas, the glycemic index for a date is 100. And I don't care whether you keep your I don't care whether you keep your fat intake to 0%. That doesn't give you a green light to just consume as much sweet, whole natural foods as you want. We need to consume our natural whole foods in moderation. We not to be gluttons. And even though there's people out there promoting this high fruit, eat as much as you want diet and eat as much as these natural foods as you want, that doesn't give people a green light to just go do it. And it certainly does not mean that it's healthy. Because stuffing ourselves with any type of food, whether that be healthy or unhealthy food, is a form of gluttony. And that is wrong. And people will suffer the consequences for that. So, I'm trying to give information to help people. I'm not saying that fruit is bad. I think that there's some people out there that say that, consuming more than 3 pieces of fruit a day is very unhealthy because of the amount of fructose it contains. I believe that's absolute rubbish. I don't think you should avoid, a cup or 2 of blueberries, and I don't think you should avoid snacking fruit throughout the day. But I also don't agree that you should just consume massive amounts of fruit every day either. Because that's extreme. That's not balanced. It's not balanced. You need balance in your life. Just like you need balance in your relationships. It's the same principle applies. So, it's not about condemning fruit or anything like that. A person can clearly eat 30 bananas a day, as we see, if they want to. Surely people are doing it, and they feel alright with doing that. But nevertheless, just because someone's doing it, doesn't mean that it's healthy. And the same applies for those who think that eating meat and raw milk and bacon and eggs and lots of cheese every day is healthy. But that doesn't mean that it's healthy. There's so much distortion and misinformation out there amongst people, especially on the internet, because nobody can really agree on anything. That's why I always like to go back to the Bible to get my truth, because that's what I can stand on, And that's how I'm able to stay healthy, is that, I take a lot of good information, what a lot of other people are teaching, but then I try to make it a realistic approach to my own lifestyle. And, I understand that when people eat less, they don't have as many health problems. And that's just the way it is. And I don't think that we should put limits either, though, on how much fruit a person can eat. But I think if a person is wise, then they will be moderate in their intake of food at any given point in time. Now, if you were on a starvation diet and you were very hungry, then of course gorge yourself and eat as much food as you need to replenish that lost nutrition. But if you're just an average person who hasn't been starving, then eat sensibly, eat frugally, like you would with balancing your budget. Don't spend foolishly, use it wisely, save it. The same is true in the sense of eating. Don't just go overboard with food, but eat what you need, what you feel is good. Have a fruit or two. You'll be alright. But if you go overboard with it, and you go overboard with even fat and meat and eggs and dairy, you're going to run into problems. There is a real problem with fat in the diet. Most longevity diets focus around about 30% of the total calories from fat, which is low fat. A lot of people have this idea when they think of low fat, they think of 0% fat, but that's not the case. The fact is, we do need some fat. We need the right healthy kinds of fat. But that doesn't mean to go gorging yourself on tons of fatty foods like Weston A. Price recommends. People just distort information, and sometimes people get stuck in a rut too. They only want to do what things were done back then, and they don't want to listen to new information coming, and that's not wise either. So, enjoy fruit, but eat in moderation, guys, and you'll be okay, and you'll avoid those advanced glycation products that Mercola is so worries about. Enjoy your food, eat small portions, and you'll be alright.